In this video, I want to go over your Type on a Path project and a few things to consider as you work through it, along with some practical tips. Again, you can find the directions for this assignment inside my courses or on page 2 of your InDesign document. Now, just to note, on page 2, here's the actual type I want you to put on your path. It's on step 3, and it's located right here. Now, do keep this in mind. This is not a function of InDesign that I use often. It's very rare that I actually have to do it, but I thought I'd go ahead and show it to you just in case you have a creative idea that may support it. So the thing to understand is whenever we're talking about a path is related basically to any of your shapes. If I were to draw out a rectangle or square, the path is the actual outline of that object. Okay, same thing if I were to select the circle, the path is the outline of that shape. It's the line that goes around it. Okay. And same thing with the line tool. The line tool actually is a path itself. Okay. So if you think of it this way, this may help you understand how the path works and what it actually is. And another path that you can do, and for those of you that are familiar with Illustrator or Photoshop, if you ever use the pen tool, you can find the pen tool directly underneath the line. So if you click on it, or right click if you have to, you can always choose the pen tool from there. The pen tool actually allows you to click your points. Is kind of a sort of a connect the dot sort of thing. So you click to add a point, then you click to add your next point, but as you do so, you click and drag out your curves. I am not going to get into this with InDesign. This is something we do extensively inside GRD 151, your Illustrator course, because it's really used more for illustrations, but the concept is the same. But anyway, for those of you familiar with the tool, I wanted to show you where it was at. So if you'd like to play around with it, you can. But anyway, the nice thing about the pen tool is you can sort of create your own path. You can create a customized looking path. Anyhow, so just to kind of show you those and to show you how Type on a Path works. If you come over here to your toolbar, you'll notice you got your Type tool. If you right click on it, you'll get to the options underneath, and there's Type on a Path tool. And so if we select that, and then you basically click anywhere on the path. Again, your path is an object. And you'll notice whenever I move my cursor over, let's zoom in here. If I move my cursor over the actual line, there's a plus sign that appears underneath my cursor. That indicates that we're going to add it to that path. So we just click, and you can paste your text there or begin to type it out. So I'm going to do paste, and there it is. Okay, so notice how it goes along the outline of the actual shape, or again, along the path. Now, if you want to move it so it starts at a different place on that path, you need to come over here and select your direct selection tool. We click on it, and you'll notice I now have these two bars. Okay, the one on the right is the beginning of your sentence. The one on the left is where it ends. So, for example, I take my direct selection tool and I click on the bar. Do not click the squares. Click the actual straight lines. You click and drag to where you want the sentence to start. And again, if this were to go all the way around, this is the end of your text box. Basically, here, let me show you what that's going to do. Pull this all the way around. So you get that red, just like you would inside of a normal text box. Okay, so again, that's the end of your sentence. This is the beginning. And same thing, you can always shrink this side up by clicking and dragging it to a different location. So you got a couple of different options there. So if you need to rotate it around, you can. Right? Okay. So as you're working with a path, keep in mind too that just like anything else, you now have text on a path, but you've also got the actual shape. And notice that the actual shape has an outline, and you can actually get rid of that if you want. So with your object selected, just go to your color panel, select the stroke, and just click none, and that'll get rid of it. Path still stays the same, but now your shape is invisible, or it has no stroke. You can always fill it with another color if you like. Oops, we need to actually select something. Okay, so now we have a gray box with text that goes around on the outside of it. All right, now let's go ahead and play with a couple of other different shapes. You can kind of see what it'll do on those. So same thing, Type on a Path tool. Just click anywhere on your object where you want to begin. Look for the plus sign. Once you see it, that means that you can begin clicking. So you click, we'll add in our text. And again, if we want to move it anywhere else on the circle, hold down go to the direct selection tool. And again, you want to click on the right line to move the beginning of it to where you want. And again, the one on the left simply controls where it ends. And you can move it as needed. Now, if you want to have this appear on the inside of the circle, then you can always come up here to your type, go down to type on a path, go to options. You can actually flip it. Okay, and that's what it'll look like on the inside of the circle. Then you can always go back with, and notice how it flipped. If this was the beginning of your sentence, it's now the end, and that's the beginning. So you would take your direct selection tool, and you would click on the line part, not the square line, to move it to where you'd like it to be. And just to kind of show you a few other options with what you have here, you'll notice that you have these different types of effects. Rainbow is the default. You can always change it to skew, which I don't recommend. 3D ribbon, which I don't recommend. Stair step, I wouldn't recommend. And gravity, I don't know. So anyway, you can tell how often I probably use this tool. So anyway, but that affects how it's going to look on the line. The other part that you can do is the actual align the baseline. If you have aligned baseline, it means that the baseline of your text will sit on the path. You can change that to ascender, and by doing so, notice how it spaces it out. This means it's the ascender, which is the upper part of your letter, that becomes the reference point there. And I often use either the ascender or descender for my text to shift it off of the actual line. That's one way that you can do it. The other one is spacing. So notice how whenever we put on the inside, it just becomes a little bit more cramped. Well, you can change that, okay? And you can adjust it that way. Okay. And again, same thing with tracking. Don't do it so much that it becomes too difficult to read. Okay. So you can play around with that to kind of see which one you like better. Just know that the options are there for you. And again, to get to this, I'm going to hit OK. To get to that, you go to type on a path, and again, options. All right. Okay. And finally, for this last one, I'll just choose a line. It can be a regular line, although you shouldn't be using a regular line for this particular project. But if you happen to draw a line with your pen tool, simply choose your type on a path tool. And again, once you see the plus sign, click anywhere on it, and then do, I'm just going to paste the text, or again, you can type it out. And again, you can always change the location. Now in this case, notice we have a beginning and end. Notice where the end, that line is over there. So again, we want to move it. Just click on the line, not the box. You want to click on that line and drag it to where you want it to start and stop. Okay. Now you notice inside the directions, I ask that you take the shape that you created and also add text on the inside of it. And so it can either be the shape that you have your text going around or a different shape. And so one of the things you want to do if you want to put text inside of a shape is to actually select the shape. And you're going to have to turn it into an actual text box. So it's kind of like you have to convert it from an object to an actual text box. So in this particular case, I'm going to select this shape. I'm going to come up here to Object. And you want to come down to Content. And you notice you have three options: graphic, text, or unassigned. Okay. And so right now it's unassigned. We want to select text. And then once it's converted to text, we're going to go to our Type tool. We're going to click inside of it. Come to our Properties bar, go all the way down and fill with placeholder text. Okay, we're going to select all this text on the inside. I'm going to click inside of it and just do Control A on the keyboard. I'm going to make it 10 points. And then to help fill in the actual empty spaces over there, come back down. I'm going to do Fill with placeholder text. It's going to fill up the entire box. And if you want to go ahead and do a justified, you can for this particular project. Okay. You can see the text is now filling up the box. And then the other thing I asked you to do is to simply add what's called an inset. And so let me zoom in here so you can see what's going to happen. You select your text box, right click it. You want to do text frame options. And notice right here, inset spacing. And let's make sure our preview is selected. I'm going to type in 0.125. And if you have the chain link selected, it'll apply it all the way around once you click on something else. And so similar to a text wrap, the inset pulls your text off of the edge of your shape on the inside of it. Okay, and you can make that smaller. An option is 0.0625. Type that in and apply it to everything else to make it a little bit smaller there. And if we hit OK and deselect, that's what it looks like. So you got text on a path and you have a shape filled with text. And keep in mind, what most folks will probably forget is you have to make sure that your shape is selected or changed to to a text shape. And to do that again, select it, go up to Object, come down to Content, and then you will have to choose Text to convert it from a unassigned shape to one that's a text shape. Then once you do that, simply click on your text tool, click inside of it, and then you can come down here and select placeholder text. Okay, so just a couple different things that you can do. Again, something to experiment with and just have a little bit of fun, see what you come up with. Again, you got 3 pages to play with it. Go for it.